Hello and welcome back to the Academy of the Magical Art. Today we're going to spend some time discussing trapping, tangling, and binding spirits through some various different methods, but that especially of spirit trap. Now this is one of those gray issues in the magical community. A lot of people hold beliefs that this is wrong and or unethical, but just as with everything else, tools are just tools. They can be used for good and productive things, and they can be used for unproductive or harmful things. And it is not the fault of the tool for the actions of the person using it. To start us off, I'm going to quote Jason Miller, who wrote Protection and Reversal Magic, as well as another book called The Sorcerer's Secrets. Both of them are pretty good reads and have some good information in them, so I would suggest checking them out. This is on page 105. In his chapter on home protection, the use of spirit traps being one of the means discussed. He says, the last type of home protection that we will consider is the spirit trap. Almost all cultures have methods for trapping or tangling spirits and spells to do so. Now mind you, if you do some research on this statement yourself, you will find that it is indeed very true. There are methods of tangling and trapping spirits in almost every culture around the world, which leads me to believe that maybe this is a good tool to have. Maybe this is something that could be useful, which again made me believe that this is something that would be good to share with you, my subscribers. In Nepal and Tibet, it is not uncommon to come across threaded crosses that are built for this purpose. Threads of 5 colors are wound, representing each of the 5 elements. The threads are then empowered with pujas and dedicated to specific tantric guardian deities. A similar process is used to mark boundaries with a circle made of the same 5 threads. There is a very popular spell that involves burying 9 viburnum twigs, also known as devil's shoestring or hobblebush, in your walkway. While doing so, uttering a protective psalm or spell. Triangles are generally a shape that is believed to trap spirits. There is some evidence to show that the 3-sided shape of the modern tent stake has its origin in Sumerian stakes that were used to nail down spirits. This tradition survives in Tibet and India as the famous furba, or thundernail, which has made appearances in mainstream movies such as The Shadow, The Golden Child. In the rituals, an effigy called a linga is placed in the center of the triangle that is either drawn on paper or on the ground. Sometimes a triangular iron box is used. With this obstacle, spirits are then caused through being summoned through a series of mantras and mudras, and they are trapped in the triangle, where they are dispatched with the furba. We find a similar use of the triangle in the Goetia, where spirits are summoned into a triangle that is marked with various holy names, such as the Archangel Michael's. The triangle is placed outside of the protective circle, and then the evoked spirits are compelled to appear within it, and can only be released when the magician is ready. So those are just a few examples of spirit traps through various different cultures. There are, of course, more, such as the Hebrew or Jewish Dybbuk's box. Many cultures will use brass vessels or jars. There are tools such as witch balls or witch bottles, and one could even use something as small as a crystal with which to trap or tangle a spirit temporarily until it can be relocated. Now, looking at the ethical side, do spirits have the ability to make choices, to choose to help and or hurt? In my opinion, yes. Of course, they do have their nature, so they have their natural inclinations. However, ultimately, whether or not they are ruining somebody's day or assisting somebody in growth is up to them, unless they are being compelled by another person or entity. When I cleanse homes, which is a pretty common practice for me, people will call me up, knowing me personally as a practitioner of the magical arts. Basic procedure that most people are taught is to enter into a home, cleanse it through various things, chant, spells, sage and feathers, and then to ward and protect the home, keeping anything from coming back in that is unwanted. However, there are cases where you are certainly dealing with malefic entities, and in my personal opinion, if and when coming across these forms of spirits or entities, if I go into the home and I dismiss them and do not let them come back in the home, the only thing that I am doing is making this entity somebody else's problem. I don't necessarily feel that that is a good thing to do, so rather than doing that, I will ward the home, keeping all things that are out, and keeping all things that are in, so I can then coax, coerce, or command said malefic entity into a spirit trap to be contained, removed from the home, and kept from pissing in somebody else's Cheerios a different day. In my personal opinion, in those forms of situations, that is the only responsible way to handle such a thing, where I am not solving a problem for one person and creating a problem for another. Now, that is the good side of the ethical fence, if you will. However, these same traps can be used to bind spirits that aren't doing any harm for the person's own selfish gains or selfish purposes. In my opinion, this is not doing something good. This is counterproductive to your karmic scale and will very likely come back to bite you later on down the road. So as you can see, this tool can be very versatile and very beneficial, but used improperly, just like any other tool, be it a hammer, building a home, or beating somebody over the head, or a handgun used in self-defense or for murder. It is important that we don't form a firm opinion on this subject or this tool without understanding all of its uses and how it can be used to really improve the lives of people. Now, that's not the only way to use a spirit trap or a spirit entanglement device. Many people will use witch balls, hanging them on their stoop or in their window to keep bad spirits from coming into their home or their area as a ward. As I discussed earlier, there are other devices, such as the woven cross, that are placed outside of the home to distract a spirit long enough to where it's forgetting what it's doing and leaving. This is a tool that I would strongly recommend becoming very familiar with, as it can come in very useful in your magical tool bag, both for yourself and for the people around you. Later here I'm going to do a part 2 on this video that discusses ways to make a couple of different spirit traps or spirit bottles, how you can use them as wards. I'm not necessarily going to get into the brass vessels and things of that nature. However, I do encourage that you do some of your own research if this is something that piques your interest. I want to thank you for joining with me today at the Academy of the Magical Art. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please do feel free to reach out to myself or Ayana Rain. Until next time, blessed be.